everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Angela, and if you're applying for finance internships or full-time positions coming up, you're likely going to hear about the Hirevue. For a lot of companies like Microsoft, Unilever, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they oftentimes all use Hirevue for their first round interview process. Before I jump into the rest of the video, this video is in partnership with the Daily Upside. More on them later. So what is Hirevue? Hirevue is a video interview platform that allows recruiters to screen candidates without actually having to conduct the interview themselves. Your answers are going to be recorded, your facial movements are all going to be examined and analyzed by AI, and oftentimes it then will go to an actual person. So how do you actually get the Hirevue interview? For some opportunities, the Hirevue process is selective. They are basically first round interviews. For other companies like BlackRock or Morgan Stanley, for example, a lot more people will end up getting a Hirevue and they'll use it as an initial screen for their candidates. Either way though, networking is especially important. Most of the time, your Hirevue is going to be reviewed by an actual person working at that company. And so networking is important because if you get a person that you know or someone who knows of you, you're more likely to move past that round. What's the Hirevue structure? Typically, you'll see a question on the screen and then you'll have 30 seconds to think about and prepare your answer. While it might be helpful to have notes or Google in front of you, it's usually not enough time to do a lot of searching and you're just going to become even more frazzled. It's better to just be prepared and maybe just have some brief notes and a notepad next to you to help you during this 30 seconds. Afterward, you'll have a set time, anywhere from 90 seconds to 3 minutes, depending on the question. You don't have to go the full time. You have the option to record your answer and stop whenever you're finished. Most Hirevues are typically quite behavioral. It'll usually begin with a very typical either walk me through your resume or tell me about your experiences type of question. That question will usually be followed by 2 to 3 more situational type questions. It can be a team related question such as describe a time you worked in a team and members of your team differed on the details and direction of a project. What did you do? It can be a decision related question such as tell me about a time that you had to make a very fast split-second decision. Or it could be a weakness focused question such as tell me about a time you failed and the lesson you learned from it. Or it can also be an integrity type question such as how would other people describe your work ethic? It's also common that you're going to get about 2 role specific questions. Specifically, the 2 that I got during my Hirevue was do investors prefer using debt or equity? What are the pros and cons of each? And if you had to choose 2 companies to merge, which 2 would you choose and why? I actually talk about these questions on my Patreon and other questions that I've gotten in interviews as well as the answers, so you can check that out at patreon.com/angelasunx3 if you're interested. I won't go into detail on all of the answers to these questions. And lastly, you can oftentimes also expect one news or market related question. This question can be framed along the lines of what is a recent headline that you read in the news? And I honestly find that the best way to answer these types of market questions is just to stay up to date on the news. I used to just read the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, but I actually really recommend signing up for a financial newsletter like the Daily Upside instead. The Daily Upside is a free financial newsletter that I've been subscribed to for the past several months. It was started by a team of former investment bankers and scholars who have industry experience, and it's typically read by Wall Street professionals and retail investors alike. Every morning, the Daily Upside is going to send a morning brief direct to your inbox. Today's brief covered the panic sale in the Chinese market, which was written in an incredibly impactful and insightful way. It isn't nearly as dense as reading the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. It's a fantastic way to stay up to date on the news, so you'll be prepared for any market question that comes your way. I'll include a link to the Daily Upside in my description box below. It's completely free, and if you don't end up loving it, you can always unsubscribe. What do bankers and recruiters look for when they're looking at your Hirevue? They're honestly not looking for too much. Essentially, they're looking for someone who shows that they're prepared and can answer the question, but overall just someone who's not too awkward on camera. And I know when you're nervous, you stammer, and if you don't have a lot of practice doing video interviews, then you can end up looking really awkward. When someone's looking at your Hirevue, they're looking at someone who's confident, eloquent, and can be concise and clear in their thoughts. You don't have to be the perfect candidate to pass the Hirevue process. It's just an initial screening. Honestly, if you stutter a bit or you pause a little bit here and there, you should still be fine as long as you do well on the rest. In fact, if you're given a full 3 minutes to answer, but you only take 60 seconds to answer and you do it in a clear and concise way, then you're more likely to pass it than someone who mumbled and stammered on for 3 minutes without really saying much. So here's how I prepare for the Hirevue process. And you do want to prepare because getting the Hirevue is like getting one step into the door. Sometimes it can be a crapshoot, but you want to do your best to prepare and have no regrets once you're finished with it. So just like any interview, you can make some guesses on what they're going to ask, but the spectrum of that is so large that there's no point. What I would recommend instead is to focus more on your behaviorals. Have your typical 5 to 7 STAR method behavioral questions prepared, like your greatest strength, greatest weakness, teamwork, leadership questions, why this bank, why this industry. I've never received a very technical Hirevue. They're almost impossible to do because you can't ask follow-up questions. So I would keep that in mind as to how you prepare as well. Furthermore, very, very important, but before you actually have the Hirevue, I would recommend checking your technology. Make sure that your technology works. Make sure that you're using a decent quality camera where you're well lit and you're not hazy, because this is your professional image and you want to reflect the best version of yourself. The camera that I use is BenQ's Full HD webcam. It's honestly a very easy to use webcam. You just plug it straight into your computer. And I find that this is better than the camera I typically use direct on my laptop, and going on my phone oftentimes comes up with a lot of issues. So I prefer to use a good quality webcam like this. But if you don't have this option, that's completely fine as well. Just make sure you're in a well-lit environment and you've tried it out, and make sure that your audio works and your camera works. So lastly, how do you go about answering these questions? First, listen to the question. I would take the full 30 seconds to prepare. Use the STAR method and write down in quick bullets what you're going to say. For those who don't know, the STAR method is situation, task, result, and action. You should be framing all of your answers for behavioral questions in this way. It's the most effective method and the most clear and concise. These Hirevues are less about nailing the interview, but more so trying to show yourself in the best light possible. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!